I'm Terri Cole, President and CEO for the Greater Albuquerque Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for joining our virtual event today, our fourth and final Business Beat event. The speaker series has allowed the business community to hear directly from leaders and decision makers on a timely and relevant topics. We received an election results briefing from Brian Sanderoff just days after the November 2020 election. And then we received a briefing from our state's finance head just days ahead of the 2021 legislative session. And that was from David Abbey. And under the backdrop of a new president taking office and a closely divided Congress, our third event featured Senator Martin Heinrich. Today, we are thrilled to have UNM Athletics Director Eddie Nuñez and our new Lobo men's head basketball coach, Richard Pitino, with us. Lobo basketball is a big deal in this community, and we found a number of ways to partner with UNM Athletics over the years in support of our men's and women's basketball programs in particular. Before we get into today's presentation, however, I'd like to recognize some really great companies and organizations who are sponsoring this speaker series. They are PNM Resources and President and CEO, Pat Vincent-Colon, New Mexico Mutual and President and CEO, Kelly Mixon, Western Sky Community Care and President, Tony Hernandez, Bank of Albuquerque, represented by New Mexico Market CEO, Jennifer Thomas, and Senior Vice President, Kyle Beasley, Molina Healthcare and Executive VP of Policy and Government Affairs, Carolyn Ingram, the University of New Mexico and its president, Garnet Stokes, including UNM Health Sciences Center, UNM Health, UNM Comprehensive Cancer Center, and UNM Athletics. Central New Mexico Community College and its president, Tracy Hartzler. Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Mexico and President, Janice Torres. Pattern Energy and CEO, Michael Garland. Excellent Schools New Mexico and its executive director, Scott Heineman. Sunny 505 and CEO, Joni Griffin. Esparza and its CEO, Del Esparza. Sandia Laboratory Federal Credit Union and CEO, Robert Chavez. Hartman and Majewski Design Group and Principal Architect and CEO, Doug Majewski. Loveless Biomedical and CEO, Dr. Robert Rubin. KOB TV4 and General Manager, Michelle Donaldson. Comcast and Vice President, Chris Duncanson. General Mills and Plant Manager, Isabel Capons. True Health New Mexico and its President and CEO, Mark Epstein. Fidelity Investments and Vice President of Public Affairs, Leanne Kravitz. KPMG and Managing Partner, Fred Winter. Bohannon Houston and its President and CEO, Bruce Stidworthy. New Mexico Bank and Trust and President and CEO, Greg Leyendecker. U.S. Bank and its regional president, Paul DePaula. Decker, Parrish, Sabatini, and founding principal and architect, Dale Decker. And New Mexico Gas Company and President, Ryan Shell. Again, thank you to these great sponsors for their engagement and their generosity. We appreciate each and every one of you. To carry our program the rest of the way, I'm happy to introduce the Chairman's Board Chairman, Kyle Beasley of Bank of Albuquerque. He is perhaps the biggest Lobo sports fan I know, by the way. Kyle, it's so good to see you, and the floor is now yours.
Terri, thank you. And there are lots of big Lobo fans on this call, including lots of former Lobo Club board members and past Lobo Club board chairs. And I'm honored to be a past board chair of the Lobo Club myself. And I think it's fantastic that we're ending our speakers series on this optimistic note. Basketball will be coming back, and we have a really dynamic and exciting new leader for our community's premier sports team. We'll start today by hearing from UNM Athletic Director Eddie Nuñez. Eddie will give us an update on several athletics topics and talk about why he selected Coach Pitino to lead the men's basketball program. Eddie has led UNM athletics since 2017 after serving as a high-level sports administrator for 14 years at LSU. Since coming to UNM, 10 of the 14 athletic programs have set GPA records, and he's on the important Lead One Executive Committee Board of Directors. He's a college basketball player himself and earned a bachelor's and master's degree from the University of Florida. Eddie, you've been very accessible. I know that firsthand, and you've been very hardworking as the athletic director for UNM Athletics, and you've done a great job supporting our students on and off the field and the court, and in the classroom and in their lives. And that's what it's all about, supporting our student athletes and giving them a fantastic winning experience at UNM. At the Chamber, we're also certainly trying to give them the very best experience possible in our beautiful city. And we also hopefully will provide well-paying jobs for them when they graduate. Throughout today's presentation, and then from both presentations, if you have questions for either person, please just type it into the Q&A box on the bottom of your screen, and we'll get to as many of those questions as we can. So Eddie, with that, I will turn it over to you for some remarks and an intro of our new coach. Thanks,
I appreciate. Thank you, Kyle, and thank you, Terry, and the whole group. This is a special group. You guys are critical to the success of Albuquerque and the state, and we really appreciate being a part of it. And so thank you. But Kyle, I think you were very generous in saying I was a basketball player at one point. I was on the team, and my skills were very limited. And I could see now, looking at this picture, how, I don't know if it's to say it a nice way, but I'm aging quickly here. So we need to find this youth serum somehow, some way. But before I begin, how about our women's soccer team? You know, unbelievable last night, beating Navy, first win for the NCAA in the program's history. So those ladies fought unbelievably hard. So I just got back probably about an hour ago. I was able to left yesterday morning and came back this morning. So, but it was well worth it. Women's golf today got selected for NCAA. So a lot of good things happening. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I did believe this job was going to get easier after all the wonderful gifts that were left for me when I first arrived, but along came this thing called the pandemic. It's been hard. We're trying to move forward, regardless if it's good, bad, or ugly, but there's been some unbelievable successes. And it's a testament to our staff, our student athletes, and our coaches for buying in and buying into the vision and the mission of what we're about here. So let me talk a little bit about the pandemic before I get into some of this other stuff. Like anything else, this was extremely challenging of a year for everybody. And it was, we took a whole different level when it came to some of the restrictions that we faced as an athletic department for our teams, for our student athletes. One of the things that we set the course from first day was to do everything possible to make it at least a chance for our student athletes to be able to compete, but be able to do so in a safe environment. We of course, as many of you know, we had to relocate some of our teams to Vegas, Texas. We had limited practices, financial concerns that were put upon us. Everything that you can add to the mix, we faced. And it's a testament. I want to just, again, recognize our student athletes, our coaches, but really more than anything, our medical team and our athletic trainers. We wouldn't be where we are today and the successes that we've been able to garner this year if it wasn't for their efforts to get us in this position. So really, really thankful and appreciative of Bob Waller and his staff for doing everything possible to get us to a point where we've done over 16,000 tests, PCR tests, probably another 15 to 20,000 antigen tests. Our student athletes have excelled in every way possible. They've taken this leadership role, and that's what we've asked of them. They understood the responsibility that was, put upon them when we decided to move forward, and they've done it, and they've done extremely well. So really appreciative. But for me as a leader, I got to create an environment where people, our student athletes, our coaches, our staff, can do their best. They can continue to do all the work they can to the best of their ability. I have to remove all the obstacles to allow them to achieve success. For our mission and our vision has not changed. It's about the student athlete. It's giving them the ability to be successful. Excellence in academics, excellence in athletics, excellence in the community. Our coaches and staff have heard me probably say this more than I need to, but it's all about the standard of excellence for me in everything we do. I've heard this from coaches along my career, from Coach Saban to other championship coaches, Billy Donovan and others, that, to achieve excellence, you must focus on the process. It's about the process every day. If we're going to achieve our goal, we have to focus on that process. If we do that, we will achieve what we strive to achieve. So a lot of things with the pandemic were extremely challenging. One of the things for me that was more than anything was to make sure we over communicate and put our student athletes and our coaches in a position where we're going to be successful. And we did, and I'm really proud of that. But one of the things that we did to keep them focused and motivated was having coaches, national renowned speakers come speak to them during the pandemic, making sure we planned ahead. So when the time came, not just to get back on sports, but be prepared for next year. We've been doing a lot of things already preparing for next year. And that's part of why I'm so excited about what's going on here in our department, is because we're not just planning for today, we're planning for tomorrow. So let's talk about some of the challenges that we face financially. I know this is one of the things that everybody likes to know about, what's happening with our finances. And of course, our first 2 years, we balanced the budget. I'm extremely proud of that. If it wasn't for COVID, it would have been 3 years in a row. And we did so by making a lot of tough decisions, changing, fundraising, doing things that were necessary, but making sure that it was done across the board by everybody, not just one entity. We did get hit, of course, harder than anybody else. One of the things that the pandemic did to us was it really exposed us. It exposed us from the standpoint of we were about 64% our operating budget was 64% off self-generated funds. That's ticket sales, special events, parking, concessions, sponsorships. By the way, all the sponsors that are a part of this group that have been great with us during this time, I want to thank you for that. Naming rights, some of those things didn't go the way they did. Some businesses weren't where we needed them to be. But ultimately, because of our sponsors, our donors, they've stepped up and helped us mitigate some of the really challenges that we've had this year. Or what it also did is, instead of being only 64%, which is one of the highest, not just in the Mountain West, it was the highest in the Mountain West, but in the all group of five. Now we're at 75% of our budget, operating budget, being self-generating funds. So it makes you really think about if we can sustain this from the standpoint that we do need to start looking at the institution, at our student fees, at the state, and try to balance that a little bit more. Similar to New Mexico State. New Mexico State's actually opposite us. When you look at their budget, it's completely opposite. So they're being subsidized by the state institution and the student fees right about a 60 to 70% percentage. So we've got to get some additional help in some of these areas. Last thing, let's talk about the successes. Academically, we're going to lead again the Mountain West for a ninth straight year in regards to academics. We've set 3 consecutive out of the last 4 semesters, 3 consecutive GPA records. Again, that goes to show our student athletes, regardless of the challenges they're facing, they found a way to make it happen. And our GPA, our graduation rates are better than the undergraduate population here on our campus. That's a testament. With all the work and effort and trying to compete and all the testing and everything they did, they still persevered. So I'm really proud of them, really excited about it. 7 teams set a record. I just see that continuing to go upward. Athletics, we've had 5 Mountain West championships this year. I think many of you have heard them. But it all began with football and basketball. We wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for football and showing that they can find a way to get to the end of the opportunity with doing it the right way. Danny did a great job putting them in a position to be successful, and you saw them get better every game. And then ultimately, we've continued to have success in all the areas from fundraising. We led in community drives during this pandemic with PPE drives. We provided for quite a bit the university's pantry with food, supplies. So we did so much for our community, for restaurants and local businesses to try to generate interest and activity towards their restaurants and their businesses. And that is what we're about. That's what we wanted to be. We wanted to be leaders in the community. And last, one of the things that's really been a target, and many of you remember me talking about this, one of the first times I came on, was our Title IX challenges. I'm happy to say that we have made an 8.9% increase. It's one of the highest in the country in regards to Title IX and putting our right sizing our department. So those are all unbelievable accolades and accomplishments. And it's a testament to our student athletes, our coaches, and you for helping us make it happen financially, but just continuing to support our student athletes. So last but not least, before I get Coach introduced, because I know that's what you guys are, everyone's here to listen to. I do want to say that we need you now more than ever. And I say that, and you've heard me, and I think I've spoken to many of you individually. Our student athletes, of course, need the support financially. You heard about some of the challenges that I mentioned earlier. Those challenges are real. When tuition and fees go up, when other things, travel go up, we have to find a way to subsidize that. We have to find a way to make that up. And so we're doing everything we can. Our donors have been unbelievable. Our fans have been great. But until we can get butts back in the seats and in the pit and starting to see Coach Pitino and Danny and everything else, it's going to be a challenge for us. So I ask you to, if you're interested in partnering up with us for sponsorships, for being a Lobo Club member, now's the time. One of the things that I'll tell you, and I'll tell you firsthand, for me, this is not a one-sided relationship. This has to be mutual for both parties. And I want you to understand, if you're interested in being a partner with us from a sponsorship at some point, know that we want to help just as much as what you're doing for us helps our student athletes. So this is a commitment from myself and everyone here. So please, if you're interested, let us know. We need you. We're all in here. I've said it before, this is Village Approach. And now more than ever, this is all of us making UNM great and Albuquerque great. So I know there's will be some questions later, so I'll leave that at the end if there's any. But now I'd like to introduce our new basketball coach. So I can actually have fun with this and make some jokes, but since he's coming after me, he'd probably make it worse for me. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm excited, and we all are excited here about the leadership, the vision, the direction that this program is going. When I set forth to try to find a coach, one of the things for me was finding a leader that had high character. You heard me say that. Anybody that I'm going out to represent this institution as a coach, a staff member, or anyone, it's about having high character. That's very important for me. That's the first thing I look for. Accountability second, integrity, work ethic. So, and I think everyone here understands it. Any business that you're in, those are traits that anybody you'd want to have around you. And Richard has all that. And besides the ability to be as young as he is, been a coach at a Power 5 institution for 8 years, plus his background, just being an assistant and everything else, being under the microscope at a school like Minnesota, gave me a lot of assurance that he was the right one for this position. So I'm excited to work alongside him and his staff and everyone. And so please, if help me welcome our basketball coach. I think he's still on, Richard Pitino.
Thank you so much, Eddie, Kyle, and Terry. Appreciate you guys having me. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a heck of a journey. I know Eddie spoke about COVID. The one thing, there are some good things about COVID, right? There's not many, but there are some good, less traffic and things like that. But what I will say has been somewhat good is normally when you take a new job, you take it, but you never get to know the community. You're flying all over the place trying to recruit, meet with potential players, and you don't necessarily get to know the community. And for the last 6 weeks, I haven't been able to really go anywhere. So I've been able to hop in my car and drive around different spots in beautiful Albuquerque and just get acclimated while making some recruiting calls and so on. And I've just been blown away by it. So I'm really, really grateful for this opportunity. It is a special place. It's a beautiful place. I know that when we're able to bring recruits here, it's going to be very evident how much this community loves college basketball and loves the Lobos. 6 weeks ago, Eddie and I spoke 6 or 7 weeks ago about New Mexico. And as Eddie said, and I need the same thing he needs because I look a lot younger in that picture than I feel right now. But, as crazy as it sounds, I'm going on my 17th year in Division I basketball coaching. I'm going on my 10th year of being a head coach. A recruit asked me yesterday, he said, what makes you different than the coaches in the Mountain West? And I said, well, I got to be the youngest. And I'm actually not the youngest. I'm the second youngest head coach in the league to Lon Kruger's son, Kevin Kruger, just got UNLV. But I'm one of the youngest head coaches in the country, but I've got amazing experience. I've gone to 3 Elite Eights as a assistant coach. I've gone to a Final Four as an associate head coach. I've worked for 2 Hall of Famers. I've coached countless pros, recruited All-Americans, recruited players that went on to win a national championship at Louisville. But, the more places I've been, the more I realize that the most important thing is not really where you work, but it's about who you work with. And when I met with Eddie, I knew right away that there was somebody that I was going to work with who understood what this is all about. And he talked to me, quite frankly, about, winning certainly did come up, and I know that we will win and we will win big. But he talked to me about doing it with integrity, doing it together, doing it the right way. He talked very much about everybody in the athletic department supporting each other. And it's amazing since I've signed on, like everybody's winning championships and going to NCAA tournaments. So I'm taking credit for soccer and everybody else. I mean, it's just been fun to see. But, we've tried to hit the ground running to the best of our ability to get out in the community and meet people, make sure that whether it's Danny Gonzalez, he's about as welcoming and easy to get to know as possible, to work with him or to work with Heather, and just make sure everybody understands that we're all in this together. The reason why I chose New Mexico, quite frankly, is New Mexico wants to win championships. I was 8 years at Minnesota as a head coach. I was 1 year as a head coach at FIU. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not sure that we believed we could win championships, because last championship that Minnesota had won was 1982. I am 38 years old. I was born in 1982. FIU, I don't believe, had ever won championships. Now, at Louisville in Florida, it was crystal clear that the expectations were to win championships, but you got to earn the right to win championships. You can't just say you want to win them and think you're going to win them. The reason why I chose New Mexico is it was done 2014. It wasn't done that long ago. So we've done it in the modern era. We have a fan base, honestly, in the West Coast, in the Southwest. There's probably Arizona, Gonzaga, and New Mexico, and that's it, who care deeply about college basketball like we do. We have a top 5, maybe top 3 home court advantage in all of college basketball. Those are things that you can sell. So when we're talking to recruits and we say, why New Mexico? Well, I'm looking at our practice facility right now. Our players are working out. It's one of the best I've seen. The pit is one of the best arenas in all of sports. We have the resources. We have the fan support. We've got a basketball star, not only city, but state, that when people do come here, they know it, they feel it, and that really matters. The academics are awesome. The resources that they have at their disposal are great to put them in a position to succeed. Now it's just a matter of getting the right staff in place, getting the right roster put together to go compete, and it's not going to happen overnight. as much as we all want it to. Not trying to put down the past team, but this is a team that won 6 games last year. Now, they were dealt a lot of difficulties, through not being able to play in their own building. They're operating out of a hotel. They're operating out of different states. But hopefully we can get back into the pit safely. Hopefully we can come back to packing that building, because I tell you what, that building is worth about 6-7 wins, in my opinion. It really is, just with the fans. So we've been working very, very hard to work out our current guys. This is the last week that we can work them out. Then they're going to go into finals. Then they'll go home for about 3 weeks. We'll have them come back in June 6th, come back for summer school, and get to work. And really that June and July is huge for us to just establish a culture. We don't have a lot of guys. We've kind of gone through some COVID things. We've had to shut down some guys, everything like that. So we don't really have a complete team on the court every single day, but just showing them what we're all about, and our current players have been great. We were not the best team in the country by any means last year. I think we all saw that on the court, but I will say the 7-8 guys that have stuck around, they're high character kids. They work their butts off on the court. They are players that you would be proud of if you were around them every single day. They've embraced me, even though I didn't coach them, which is always very unique. And, they've been a lot of fun to work with. So I'm proud to be with them every day. They've been a joy. And we've added some really good pieces that I'll talk about, I think. And with the transfer portal and with everything like that, we're still going to be able to add some really good pieces. As for a staff, I set out to add a staff that's going to help us win championships. And the 3 guys that I hired, not only have they won at a high level, they've got phenomenal experience in this game. Isaac Chu was my first hire. Isaac has been at Grand Canyon recently. Then he was at Texas A&M. Before that, he was at Virginia Tech. Before that, he was at Marquette and Murray State, and he helped rebuild those programs. One of the things I set out to do when I hired a staff is we've got to recruit Texas. We've got to recruit Arizona. We've got to recruit Southern California. We've got to live in those areas. And the staff has got to guide me in the right direction there when we are out recruiting. So Isaac he's well-versed in those areas. Then I went out to hire another terrific assistant coach in Andy Hill, who Andy was at Utah with Larry Kristoviak in the Pac-12 for 10 years, was in Montana before that, got great experience internationally as well as Southern California and on the West Coast. And he's been terrific as well. Another high integrity guy, high character guy. And lastly, I hired Eric Brown, who Eric was most recently at Arizona State. Before that was at UNLV. And before that was at Long Beach State, helped turn them around, and USC. So I feel like I put together a great staff from a recruiting standpoint that can really tackle the Southwest to make sure we're getting the best players out of there. And then there were guys, Dan McHale, who will be a special assistant, who I've known Dan for 20 years. He'll be kind of my right-hand man. I trust him unequivocally. He works his butt off. He's got great experience. He will help me on the day-to-day stuff to make sure we're running smoothly. Nick Michael, our strength coach, Gil, our trainer, Rob, our video guy, all were guys who were here before that we retain. Every single one of these staff members, I tell them the same thing. I mean, I don't want you to do just one thing. I want you to put this program in a position to win. Serve these student athletes every single day. You do that, in the end of the day, we're all going to get what we want, which is to get back to the top of the Mountain West. So they've been great. We're working our butts off every day with working our current student athletes out, as well as we've got so many different Zooms that we do every single day in recruiting. I mean, the cool part about the Zooms is, I could be in Texas one day at 11 o'clock, and then 12:30, I could be in Arizona. Then I could be in Florida. Then I could be, so as much as I wish I could be face-to-face with these guys, we've been able to cover a lot of ground. So we've added two really good pieces in the spring, and we certainly anticipate adding more as we move forward over the next coming weeks to make this this complete team. The first guy that we brought to the fold was Jamal Mashburn Jr. Jamal, I've known for a long time. His father played for my father and was one of the best players my dad's ever coached. But quite frankly, when I recruited Jamal at Minnesota, I recruited Jamal because I thought he was a great player. I mean, he was a 4-star player. He was a top 100 recruit. And we needed him. He's a combo guard. He was really averaging about 9 points a game as a freshman in one of the toughest leagues in college basketball. But towards the end of the year, averaged about 15 points a game in the last 10 games. We had been hit with a lot of injuries, and for Jamal, it was a good thing. It was tough for a head coach to play a young guy that much, but it was a great experience for him. And when I made the switch to New Mexico, Jay, as I call him, and his father Jamal reached out and said, just tell us when, and we're ready to go. We're on board. So that loyalty is what it's all about. And he had a great experience. And, I told him when we did our Zoom, like, we're going to keep running this race together. Like, you were playing a lot as a freshman for me, the 1 and the 2. That's not going to change. Your role will be increased here at New Mexico. And he's a basketball junkie. He's a gym rat, loves the game, just lives for it. He'll be in here 24/7. And he's a high character, great representative of this basketball program in this university. So somebody you guys will be proud of. Another backcourt guy that we added was Jalen House. And just coincidentally, both kids have fathers who played in the NBA. I have a father who coached in the NBA. But Jalen was a really good player at Arizona State, a really good player. He will have the pit on its hands and they're on his feet, clapping, going crazy with the energy that he plays with. He's one of the best perimeter defenders I've watched in a long time. I mean, he's an absolute pest. He's dynamic with the basketball. He makes others better. I just think with the two of them, other guys are going to want to play with them, and we're seeing that through recruiting because, they know a lot of people. That's the funny thing about recruiting is these guys, kind of like the pro guys a little bit, they all team up with each other. I mean, they all want to, they reach out to each other on social media. And the beauty of Jay and Jalen is they got a lot of friends and a lot of guys that want to play with them. So we're close on a couple more guys. Can't talk specifically about them, but we feel like we're going to get some more really good news to help out the current roster as well as put these other guys together. So, it's not about one guy. Every kid that we recruit, we tell them the same thing. Like, if you're not about getting better, if you're not about winning, it's probably not the right place for you. And that's okay. We want guys who just live in the gym, who want to get their degree, who want to represent, New Mexico the right way. So we're looking forward to some good news here moving forward. As I said to you before, what we're doing every single day is we're working these guys out 4 days a week. They're living in the weight room. It's kind of crazy. The current roster didn't really get all of that because they were gone for so long and they weren't able to use these unbelievable facilities. So they've been fun to be around. We're working hard to complete out this roster and then to get them here all set up in June, for a couple of sessions of summer school because they'll need it to get acclimated and then get going moving forward. The next thing we're really working on is a schedule. Trying to put together a schedule obviously is crucial. There's a couple things that I want. Certainly we want a competitive schedule to help us compete in the Mountain West and get us ready for the Mountain West. But I know very much that this building, the pit, is so important to the state. So it's very, very important that, hopefully COVID gets eased up a little bit more by November and we can pack that building so that we have some fun opponents coming into the building to get our fans back. It's been long for everybody where we've been in, our homes and we've been virtual. We need to get our fans back excited to pack that place because it's so important for everybody. It's the lifeblood of this basketball program and this state. And so when we do add these opponents in the non-conference, we're looking at all options. We want it to be great for our program, but also great for our fans. So working on that, solidifying a couple contracts, and then sending our current players off the right way next week through final exams and, get them home safely for a couple of weeks and get started. So I can't wait. I'm very, very appreciative of the support and the people that I've met in the community. Everyone that comes up to me, whether I'm out at Target or out at a restaurant, I know it's a crazy basketball state. They always remind me and warn me of that. I grew up, my dad was the head coach of Kentucky. So I certainly am used to that. And like Eddie said, I mean, I was at a place that cares deeply about its university for 8 years in Minnesota. I'm more than confident and, just eager to be the face of that, the men's basketball program, because I know it's very, very important. So I can't wait to get going. I can't wait to implement kind of our style. It'll be a fun style. It's going to take some time. We've got a lot of work to do, but it's something that I can't wait to get going. I mean, the Mountain West is a amazing basketball conference, and New Mexico belongs at the top of that. It wasn't too long ago that we were there, and we need to get back there. And I know I'm working with great people who help us do that. So with that being said, I think, Kyle, I think I'm going to send it over to you. If there's any questions, I'd love to answer them and be happy to do that. So thank you, guys.
Coach Pitino, thank you. Your enthusiasm is contagious, and hearing about Mashburn in-house and your other recruits really is exciting. So we're ready to get going. Scott Darnell, I'm not seeing any questions in the Q&A box, and if that's my bad, if you could text those over to me, but I do have several questions for both Eddie and the coach. So I'll go ahead and get started on those. And first one for you, Coach, is just maybe talk about the style maybe that we can expect out of the team, and also some of your fundamental philosophies in setting the culture and that sort of thing.
Well, I would say the culture is the most important thing. And I think sometimes people get sick of hearing coaches talk about it. But quite frankly, I mean, when you've been in a conference like the Big Ten, or I haven't been in the Mountain West yet, like, you've got some programs. And that's the most important thing. The key is to build sustainable success. And so you have to build a great culture. It starts with your staff. You've got to have a great collection of people who are high integrity, they're enthusiastic, they're all in, and they have to understand what, kind of what the mission is, and that's on me to set that, and for them to move forward with what our beliefs are. We want to build a team that we want student athletes who make us proud. They've got to be great in the classroom. They've got to be great in the community. Yes, they're college students. They're going to make mistakes. We're going to hold them accountable. But they've got to operate with high integrity every single day. I want players who come here, they love the game of basketball. I don't want guys that are coming here to party. That's not what I want. I want them to come here to get their degree, and I want them to come here to get better. So we make that crystal clear in recruiting, and we make that crystal clear to the current players that that's what we're looking for. And that, you're going to have some bad days. We're here for you. We're all on the same team. We want to make you better. We want to make you better people. We want to prepare you for life after basketball. But it's the guys that have stayed have absolutely gravitated towards that. I am huge on skill development. Eddie played for a guy, and Billy Donovan, who worked for my father, played for my father. We are going to use every possible accountable hour that we are given with these guys on the basketball court. We're not going to waste 1 second. Every coach has a decision to make on what it is that they use on a practice plan and what it is that they use in the accountable hours. Skill development is going to be first and foremost. These guys are going to get better. They're not going to be a finished product at the beginning. I mean, their skills are going to get better. You know, we're going to work with them every single day religiously on that, so that we can help their careers as well as help New Mexico basketball. But everything that we do will be geared towards winning, and we'll be consumed with that, putting this basketball program in a position to win and to compete at the highest level. I want great discipline on the basketball court. You know, we've got to make sure that we don't beat ourselves. I want, unbelievable, relentless toughness on the basketball court. A shot goes up, hopefully we make it, but if not, they need to feel us coming in to go offensive rebound, right? Or if they make a mistake, they need to feel us going down the court and going to the basket to where, you know, they think twice about taking that risk. That's the goal. It's hard to do. It's going to take time to build it. Offensively, we're going to shoot a lot of three-pointers. You know, three-point line is a huge part of the game. My team last year at Minnesota was not a great three-point shooting team, but we still shot a lot of threes. This current team obviously was not great last year as well. So we need to improve on that skill level. But the three-point line is such a huge part of the game. I tell recruits all the time, and I tell our guys, highest percentage shot in the game is a layup or a dunk. Second highest percentage shot is a free throw. And the third highest percentage shot is a catch and shoot three. We're going to try to find those. We're going to try to limit those on the other side of it. But the way that you find those is you play great defense, relentless defense. So it allows you to get out in the open court instead of playing against a set defense all the time.
All right, very good. We do have some questions coming in the chat box now, and I think you just answered most of it. There's several questions just regarding offensive and defensive style and that sort of thing, and I think you touched on those. Another question I have is thinking about your Hall of Fame father, what's maybe the most important thing you learned from him?
I would say the thing I learned from my father, and I don't know if I quite understood it at the time, but just an absolute competitive junkie. He competes at everything. He wants to rip your heart out on the golf course. He wants to beat you, obviously, if you're playing on the basketball court. But you know what? I mean, that is something that in everything that we do, we've got to be relentlessly competitive, whether it's, you know, our players understanding that they have to get above a 3.0 and they have to take pride in that, or getting out in the community or taking pride in going to the other sports, you know, to support them, taking pride in being in the best possible shape of your life, taking pride in winning those recruiting battles. And then obviously those 30-something opportunities that we get to play the game and coach the game that we love, to doing everything possible to get that victory. My biggest thing, I don't know how good we'll be right away. You know, we've got a long journey here, you know, to flip this thing. I want it to be really, really difficult to beat us, and it to be a long night to beat us. And my dad taught me that. I mean, just so competitive, so driven. Probably a unique thing more than anything. This is right now, our guys are doing individual instruction with our guy. It's the first one I've missed since I've been here. And my dad taught me that, you know, if I want our guys to get better, I'm going to be on the court with them, sweating with them every single day.
Okay. Very good. And again, if any of the audience members have questions, please type those into the Q&A box. I mentioned the chat box a second ago, but I meant to say the Q&A box. Question for Eddie and the coach, if you have an opinion on this, switching gears a little bit on you, but can you talk a little bit about the latest state and national actions regarding college athletes being able to be compensated for the use of their likeness, and what do you think the practical impacts of that will be?
You ready? You gonna do that one, Richard? You want me? No, it's so the world of college athletics is changing fast. It's been happening probably much more over the last 7-8 years. But this past year with we all have been hearing more about the NIL, the name, image, and likeness. It's really not a pay for play model. What it's trying to do is really give the ability to student athletes to be able to generate revenue off their name, their image or likeness. So as an example, many will ask, a lot of the platforms currently where this is being housed is in the social media world. I think that's where the majority of the student athletes around the country are going to be able to probably generate some kind of revenue off it, is through likes and being influencers and everything else, things that are probably way above all of our heads. But that's the platform right now that still to today, the NCAA has been very challenging when it came to giving opportunities for student athletes to make anything, any kind of revenue. I'll give an example. There was a student athlete at LSU when I was there, and the gentleman, really a football player, very, very smart individual, established 2 different businesses ultimately by his junior year of college. And we every year had to get waivers or different things to show what he was doing and why he can generate revenue. The time's come where we need to open this up. The one thing that concerns me going forward is the way that it's structured. Right now, every state across the country is doing their own opportunity to try to get ahead of the game, because the federal government's trying to do it, but like everything else, it gets stuck in the weeds there. And I think the changing of the president recently also added to the delay, I would say. But our state has one out there. Again, we are supportive of the NIL opportunity, but are very cautious as to how this gets rolled out. And we've been saying this time and time again. It's very important that we work on the details, because just like years ago when cost of attendance became a hot item for college athletics, this too will come, and we will find a way to navigate through it. But we need to make sure that we put our student athletes, our staffs, our universities, our sponsors, everybody in the position so they can all be successful here. Last thing we want to do is add additional cost onto the university, especially ones like ours and others that are strapped financially. So we want to make sure that we give them opportunities, but we do it so that it's done right. It doesn't put them, there's tax implications. There's a lot of other things that are associated with this. So a lot more to discuss than just the highlights that I just mentioned, but it's a challenging time in college athletics between that and transfers and everything else. We have a lot going on. And right now it's important for us to continue to do our part and support our student athletes. I mean, there's a lot of with the social unrest and going on and across the country and across the world. You know, we have to continue to support our student athletes, and that's what we're doing.
Okay, thank you, Eddie. And I know firsthand what a monumental challenge it is to balance that athletic budget year in and year out. You've done a fantastic job on that. The last thing is more cost. And you also mentioned the fact that UNM athletics is self-funded in large part. I would love to see the state come through with more funding for the athletic departments here and at New Mexico.
Yeah, we need, and they've started. The state has started stepping up, and they've done a good job. We unfortunately we got cut like many of the other entities across the state because of COVID. That really hit us hard. I mean, any new revenue that we generated last year from the state or were able to convince, and for mental health or anything else, we lost that prior to the start of this fiscal year. So it's a battle. It's a battle we'll continue to fight. We got to do our part. There's a lot of new legislators up in Santa Fe that we have to make sure that we build relationships with, like many of the other ones that were there for many, many years. And I've started that quest. It's not going to be an easy one because there's so many new faces, but it's something that it's an everyday opportunity, probably like many of the individuals on this call right now that have to do the same and getting to know them because they're trying to do what they can for their own businesses. So we're going to continue to strive. I think we're going to have to go to the Zoom for any future ones, Terry. I mean, last time I was on in person, we got drilled there with many, many questions. I think Del Archuleta led the charge for a while there. So this is pretty good.
Coach Pitino, did you want to weigh in with any comments along those lines?
Well, I think what Eddie said is very true. And, you know, I hate to sound like we're in our own world, because I think everybody's dealing with it in every walk of life. But we are going through monumental changes in college basketball. For one thing, COVID, it's very, very challenging for student athletes. We get to go home to our families and friends and so on. Like I've been away from my family for 6 weeks, and I'm really here, and I go to the hotel and it's driving me crazy. I want to get them down here. I want to get to a house. So you can only imagine what these student athletes are going through because they're not getting a normal college experience. I think the one thing that's consistent that every person who's out of college says when they meet kids in college is enjoy it. It's the greatest time of your life. They're not getting a normal experience. And I hate it for them. So whenever we can get back to normal, it's going to be great for these guys. As for the NLI stuff, NIL stuff, a point that I think I can make a little bit different than Eddie's is probably the number one competitor of college basketball is the NBA, and they don't work well with us. It's different than other sports. They're not trying to help us. So every little thing that we can do to make it, instead of going to the G League, hey, go play college basketball is beneficial for us. So like Eddie talked about the social media stuff, we got to give these guys the opportunity to do that. Or if they want to sell a jersey, or if they want to, do an autograph signing at a mall or something, it's silly not to do that. We've got to make it more attractive for them to play college basketball, not less, because the NBA is funding the G League more, and it's taking some of the best players out of here. So we got to make it more enticing for them to play college basketball. We got to make this experience amazing for them. So hopefully whenever we can safely resume, it'll be great for our student athletes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. And speaking of safely resuming, Eddie, do you have any predictions on capacity limitations come basketball season and season ticket sales and suite sales? Do you have any preliminary ideas on any of those things?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was positive today from, I didn't get to see the whole governor's press conference or Zoom earlier. I heard there were some changes that are going to hopefully allow us to get back to some normalcy. They tweaked some of the requirements. I'm going to take a look at it here as soon as I'm done. I anticipate that we're going to, as long as we continue to do everything we can. Our student athletes have continued, like I said earlier, they're excelling. They're doing everything we need them to do. The NCAA is doing their part to make sure that the conference, that everybody's doing their part from a conference, NCAA, to make sure we're following all the guidelines, that we're doing everything necessary. I believe right now that we're going to be preparing for at least 50% in football. That's something that we hope we can do. I mean, and be able to. We've had these plans in place since COVID came up upon us. We started on that. That was one of the things that we tried to do, was to have a plan for, as I said, for when the time came. And these are plans that we have. We feel like we can execute them. We've seen them. We've done it at baseball, at softball. We feel that we can do it at football as well. The basketball is going to be the challenge. Basketball, if we need to really try to get full capacity. But again, even if we get that opportunity, a lot of that is also dependent on our fans feeling comfortable to be able to sit side by side. I just got off a plane that was it was jam-packed. And I think you're starting to see that go back to a little bit of what we all considered normal, which is not going to ever be that again. But I think you're going to see it. We're going to plan accordingly. So at this point, all we can do is plan that direction. We will be a little more reserved when it comes to basketball, just because we want to make sure that as we get closer to it, we don't want to have everybody get their season tickets, and next thing you know, we're having to find a way to do it at 75%. So we're treading lightly, but we're going to continue to have conversations with the governor's office and those to give us the best projections we can as we move forward.
Okay. Well, we will all be ready by that time. We'll be ready to pack the pit and help Coach Pitino and the new team achieve their goals. Terry, Cole, do you have a question for either Eddie or Coach Pitino?
Thank you, Kyle. Yeah, I'm interested in your philosophy and policies around social media, Coach, and your players' interaction with community tweeters. So I'm also interested, Eddie, in what your comments. Are you going to encourage that in your players, Coach? And Eddie, how do you feel about that interaction?
Go ahead, Richard. Have at it.
Yeah. So here's what I would say about social media. I hate social media. Now, I think social media is the most anti-team thing on the planet, but it's not going away. It's just not. And there is a lot of negative that comes from social media that we all know, because a lot of us are parents and we see our kids on it. And, you know, it's not positive for mental health. It's not positive for a lot, but there's a lot of great opportunities too. It's not all bad. There's a lot of great opportunities to engage with our fans. There's a lot of opportunities for them to individually improve their brand, as well as our team improve that. So I think the most important thing that we have to do is educate them. It used to be when I was in college, drinking and getting in a car with somebody that drank it, that was a lot of the concerns of the students. Social media is that mental health piece, about handling it the right way, saying the right things. How many examples do we all have of one little tweet ruining somebody's career? So they need to, the beauty of our guys is I think they're now, they're so well-versed in it because they've kind of grown up in it that they understand that one little thing that you could write on there could really, really hurt them. So not as, I would say that the modern day athlete in college really doesn't tweet as much as you would think they do. They're more Snapchat and maybe a little bit of Instagram, but everything, any tweet that you put out there, we're going to educate our guys on branding yourself the right way. So I do it a little bit. I don't love it by any means, but I know it's a part of engaging with our fans, and it is important for them to understand what we're all about. So until everybody gets rid of it, I'd be glad if Eddie said nobody's allowed to do it, but I don't think he's going to do that. But there is some positives to doing it. Not much, but there are some.
I'm gonna hold off on that right now. But it's exactly that. You have to embrace it. You have to understand the positives and the negatives. And for one of the things that we've done with our student athletes is try to educate them as much as possible. At the end of the day, they're still going to make the decisions. Sometimes their decisions aren't as we might view it, it might not be the right ones, but it's their voice, it's their platform, and they have to understand the positives and negatives that come with it. And that's what we're here to do. I think the NIL is also going to play a big part in what happens with social media in the future. You're going to see probably a lot more student athletes probably taking a little more guidance or taking a step back before they start sending text messages if it starts affecting their bottom line. That's going to start. It's real. We've tried to explain it to them for years, and we all went through this phase as students at some point that watch what you do, how you do it, when you do it, and now they're gonna have no choice if they want to be a part of the world of NIL and potentially generating some revenue. They have to be smart. But we all have to deal with the Jeff Grammers of the world who are probably tweeting us about right now and others. So it's part of it. We have to embrace it. We have to enjoy it, and we have to be smart about it, though.
Well, and speaking of Jeff Grammer, Jeff is on the call, and we actually have a question from Jeff.
Of course. This is not a press conference, Mr. Grammer.
So his comments and question are: Lobo basketball, unlike many programs around the country, has been built on a fan base that feels a part of the program and not just spectators of the program. Aside from having undoubtedly the best local beat writer in the country covering the program, how do you plan to reach fans and make them feel a part of your program?
Well, before you go there, Richard, and talk about how you need to do it. We should take that up for debate here. That beat writer kind of quote there, comment. No, honestly, I learned it when I first got here very quickly that the Lobo fan base, this community is a community that you need to be engaged with, and you have to be all in with. You have to build trust. One of the first things that I learned early in my career here was we had a lot of trust that had been burned for whatever reason. If it might have been wins or losses, coaches, things that occurred within the athletic department, however you may want to look at it, it was a trust that we had to build back. And that's something that I still take as very important for us, all of us, to continue to do. So it's about building trust. It's about them understanding that we care about this community, that we are a part of not just UNM athletics, it's UNM as an institution. It's the city of Albuquerque, it's the state of New Mexico. So we take a lot of pride in it. We will continue to try to generate more interest with our fan base and let them know that who's out there on that court, or those fields, or those in the gyms, or on the golf courses, are going to represent them the way they feel like they should be represented. So, Richard.
Yeah, I mean, to piggyback off of what Eddie said, I mean, every program that I've been a part of, College of Charleston, Northeastern, Duquesne, Louisville, Florida, FIU, Minnesota, they have a selling point. You know, they all do. The number one thing that we will sell is the fans. It is a top 5 fan base in college basketball, in my opinion. It really is. And it would be very, very silly to not make them feel a great part of it, because they are the number one thing that we sell every single time we talk to a recruit. So they're going to be a part of it. We are going to make ourselves accessible. We're going to engage in the community, certainly, hopefully safely as we advance through COVID and get out of this, to where they're going to feel a part of it, whether it's through open practices and open scrimmages and, you know, being creative so that engagement is there. As the kind of the face of the program, I'm going to be real. I'm going to be authentic. They're going to get to know me. I'm going to be, true to what I say. And I think that's the most important thing when you have a fan base that's so passionate about it, is they need to get to know me. It's not, wins and losses are very, very important, but that's not just what New Mexico basketball is all about. It's about making sure that they feel a part of it. So hopefully the world resumes and I can go and shake their hand and get to meet them and do all that. But for the time being, we'll be very, very creative with how we do connect with them. Every player that we bring in will understand that the fans are the heartbeat of this basketball program and all of the sports in the athletic department.
All right, sorry, I was having a hard time getting myself off of mute there, but that will be the last question. I just want to say to both of you, thank you so much for your comments today and for spending time with the chamber. We're all in this together, and we're all pulling to make this a great community. And Lobo athletics and Lobo basketball are integral parts of this community. And so we wish you much success, Coach. We welcome you to our great city, and we will do everything we can help you to succeed. So, Terri, with that, I'll just turn it back over to you with some closing comments.
Thank you, Kyle. I'll be short and sweet here, but Coach, as I said to you privately, welcome. We could not be happier that you have landed in our great state, and we look forward to working with you. And also, we look forward to getting to know Jill, your wife, and your kids, Ava and Zoe. We know that what you're doing is a family affair, so please give them our welcome today from the business community. And Eddie, You know, you have just put one foot in front of the other enthusiastically since day one, and we could not be more prouder in the business community of the work you are doing. So keep it up. And Kyle, always, you do a fabulous job for us. And I'd like to thank our sponsors, because without them, we could not produce the kind of events we do. And I echo Eddie's comment. We need that support now more than ever before. And all of our business community partners and sponsors have been right there with us. So thank you so much for sponsoring this event. We appreciate it very much. And next up is our May 18th, 2:00 p.m. Zoom meeting. And this is our legislative annual awards event. We're excited about it. We've got some wonderful awards to give to legislators for legislation that was very important to the growth and well-being of the state. And an E for Effort award for some of those that were equally good but didn't pass the finish line. We've got some chamber awards we're going to give to business community CEOs. And so we're very much looking forward to that, and we hope you join us. Finally, in the month of June, we'll wrap up our program year with our congressional series. We'll be hosting the House of Representatives delegation from New Mexico and Senator Ben Ray Lujan. So with that, thank you all for joining us. We've loved being with you. We can hardly wait to be with you in person again. Coach and Eddie, go Lobos.
Thank you. Go Lobos.
Thank you. Go Lobos.